This is David Lee. I'm the Vice President of the Alumni Board in New York. And I'm actually very happy to be interviewing Tom Sandlow today, who's the President of the Alumni Board. Hi, Tom. How are you today?
I'm good, David. How are you doing?
Good, good, good. Thanks. All right. So I have a whole bunch of questions for you. So I guess I will go with either way how you look at it. It could be the easiest or the hardest. To me, it's probably the hardest. So I've known you, Tom, for quite a few years now, and I also know you've through some third parties, through your previous finance experience. To me, your track record and the fact that you're the president of this board and how you conduct yourselves, I would call you as a fearless leader. So with that as a backdrop, what is your greatest fear, Tom?
Oh my gosh. Starting off with a softball, huh? I guess
Exactly.
I think it would be, this is such a serious thing, some kind of life-threatening illness or condition for one of my children. Because I know a couple of people, adults, who have gone through that with their children. And I actually experienced that with our youngest, my daughter, when she was just an infant. And it was definitely the worst experience of my life. And she survived and is like healthy and vibrant and, grown up and everything. But I can't really think of something that would be worse, that I fear more, at least.
No, that makes sense. Thanks, Tom. Which living person do you most admire?
So I think I'm going to answer that kind of oddly, because on the one hand, there are so many, great leaders in the world, that you can pick that, Dr. Fauci has been, an inspiration through the pandemic. And many other people have done great things as leaders. But I only see one aspect of those people. I assume Dr. Fauci's a great person and everything like that, but I really only see him make decisions in that one aspect of his life. So I'm going to just pick somebody I know very well, which is my brother-in-law, who I've known since 6th grade. So basically almost my whole life, and who I've seen make a million decisions, big and small, important and insignificant. And I've just always admired and respected the way he was so thoughtful and able to process lots of different information, but in a very human way. So I'm going to go with Barry Rosen, my brother-in-law.
Okay, great. That's great. Now, Tom, what's your idea of perfect happiness?
So, I think it goes to that feeling that you have pretty often when you're a child, much less often when you're adult, where you're just sort of immersed in just like great feelings. And so if I think about it as an adult, more recently when it's happened, I can remember very vividly a time in the last couple of years when myself, some family members and friends were all skiing on a day when it was just snowing massively. And there was just tremendous amount of powder, and everybody was just so happy that literally as you went down the mountain, you were just shouting for joy, So it's that moment that you kind of get only once in a while where you just feel like you're completely in the moment, and it's just a complete feeling of happiness.
Okay, great. Now, I guess since COVID, we've been actually through Zoom, and you look pretty relaxed there, and with your family in the background and etc. How are you feeling right now? What's your current state of mind?
So I'm pretty positive. I mean, I think my nature in general has always been to be, excuse me, a half glass full kind of person. Um, and so, I mean, obviously, this has been a really trying time for everybody. You know, some people have had it much worse than others. I think from the pandemic perspective, I've been pretty fortunate. Um, but so I think some of it is just I'm generally got a positive outlook. I think another thing is that I feel like we've definitely turned the corner. You know, you can see that this, you know, a few months ago, you might have thought this pandemic could last. We could sort of be in this state of perpetual not being able to do what we like to do for who knows how long. And now I think it's very clear that we'll be out of this at some definite date in time in the future. I'm not saying it's going to be 2 months. It's not going to be 2 months, but I don't think it's, you know, and all my information is just what you read in the paper, but it just seems like sometime in the next probably 4 to 6 months, we'll have returned to kind of normal activities. I mean, I think I'm looking forward to a great summer where people can do basically what they're used to doing during the summer.
Yeah, no, that's great. We all definitely hope so. Now, I've known you for a few years. I know you have a lot of talents. So obviously you're really, really talented in finance and business and then art and science as well, and also sports. I learned a lot about you when you were at the Mets game and the Cubs game. And with that, I love to hear, like, what talent would you most like to have outside of all the other tremendous talents you already possess?
Well, that's interesting. It's nice that you say all that. I can think of lots of talents that would be really helpful for me. So at first, when you were asking that question, I was thinking like superhero kinds of things. So I'm going to answer it 2 ways. The first is the superhero answer. I would love to be able to fly. I mean, I still have dreams occasionally where I can fly. That would be tremendous. But in terms of more, with my feet both on earth, what I'd like to do, I wish I had some musical talent. I have absolutely almost less than zero musical talent. My voice really is horrible. I can't play any instrument. I can't really seem to learn an instrument. As an adult, I started taking piano lessons, and essentially after about 4 or 5 months, my instructor encouraged me to quit. So I just don't have any musical talent. I have a hard time remembering lyrics to songs. So it would be really nice to have some musical talent, because I think it's a really sort of, for people who have some, it's a very joyful experience, and it's nice when friends share that with other people, with their friends, and, it'd be, I'm so, not jealous, but I have so much respect for people who can like pick up a guitar or get on the piano and just play when they're amongst friends. It's such a nice thing for everybody who's there. So I wish I had that ability.
Yeah, it's interesting. Likewise, my 3rd grade music teacher could attest to that for sure. So Tom, besides flying, what would you change one thing about yourself if you could?
So I'm definitely a bit of a procrastinator. Not sort of on big things, like if there's something important that has to be done, I really am good at taking care of that. But things like cleaning out a closet, or going through the mail and paying bills, like I could. Well, first I take the mail out of the mailbox from our apartment building like at most once a week. I just don't have an interest in seeing what's in the mail most of the time. But then it could just sit for a few weeks before I just decide, okay, I got to open it. I know I have bills in there that have to be paid. It's one of those things that I'm sure most people do routinely, and it takes a short amount of time, and it takes me a short amount of time, but I just put it off. So it'd be nice to feel more like, oh, you know what, just bang, 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 bang those things up, but I just don't do it. I procrastinate on those things.
Okay, good. Now, if you were to die today and come back as a person or a thing, what would that be?
So I'm going to say a couple things. Well, if we want to come back as like an inanimate object, I mean, I don't want to be a toaster or something like that. So it would definitely be some type of animal. So growing up and in my adult life, I've had dogs. I've always thought it would be very cool to be able to change places with the dog for a couple days and experience his life and find out, well, where is his favorite place to go for the walk? And what does he think about this dog food and which toys does he really seem to like the best? Just to be like a better friend for the dog. But I don't think I'd want to be a dog like for a whole lifetime. I think if I picked an animal I'd want to be for a lifetime, it would be a grizzly bear. I've just always really loved grizzly bears. I've been fortunate that I've gotten to see grizzly bears in the wild. When I was much younger, I went on a backpacking trip in Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, and I got to see from a safe distance, fortunately, grizzly in the wild. And they're just magnificent looking. They live somewhere where they are they're living in an incredibly beautiful place, and they don't really have anything threatening them. I mean, obviously it's not an easy life, but I think it would be really cool to experience life as a grizzly bear.
Cool. Now, I guess I'll just answer for you. If you were to come back as a person, you still want to be Tom Sandlow, right?
Oh, as a person, I'd like to be a better Tom Sandlow. I could definitely, the older you get, the more sort of, I don't even want to call them regrets, but the more things you think, if I had done this a little differently, or maybe it would have, life would have ended up, or I would have enjoyed it more, or something like that. But if I was coming back as another person, I don't know, that would be very tough, because it's very tough to kind of judge how would I have liked that experience. And I kind of a little bit feel I've experienced being a person. I think I still might rather come back as a grizzly bear.
All right. Well, on that note, I know you've achieved a lot in your career and your family life and your friends, etc. What would you consider your best achievement?
So, it's not a unique thing. Tons of people do it, but I think it's actually being a parent. I mean, when you think about the things you do in life, at least for most of us, it's the thing that you commit to the longest. You commit to it permanently. It's not, to the extent I've done things I'm proud of at work, they're sort of transient in a way. You could leave that job anytime. The circumstances could change. But once you're a parent, you're a parent. And it's a permanent obligation. And it also, so I'm very proud that I've been a parent, and I am a parent. You don't really give it up. And I'm proud of the job I did doing it too. Yeah. Even though it's not like sort of super unique, it's, I don't know, but that's how I feel.
Okay, great. All right, well, through Zoom, I'm looking over and looking at your kind of background here and the couch and everything else. Besides, I guess, your hair, what is your most treasured possession, you would say?
My hair. That would actually, I want to go back to the questions about things did you ask me about things I could change? I would definitely like to have the hair I had when I was like, in my 20s or teens or something.
It looks just fine. It looks fine. But besides that.
So besides that, treasured possessions. I think, so I have a few things that I got from my grandparents. So I have some folding chairs, a lamp. Actually, the camera, I don't know if you can see it, there's a black thing behind me. That's actually an old camera that my grandfather used to use to take pictures, 45, 50 years ago. But having those things are really nice because it connects me with, multiple generations. It connects me with when I was young and now, so I think those are the possessions that I would probably end up missing them, like physical possessions I would miss the most.
Okay, great. Who are your favorite writers?
Kafka. Just for sure, it's the first Kafka book I read, I think I was at University of Chicago, but I don't think I read it for a course, which sounds really pathetic. But I think I probably read it because I was in the library and I was supposed to be studying. But I just got hooked on Kafka like so many people have. And I just so enjoyed it. And he's actually the only author I can think of right now that I've reread just for enjoyment. So I would say he's my favorite author. I mean, I do read a lot of like popular books, like, Grisham's and those kinds of things. But he just kind of won the day.
Okay, great. Now we talked about superheroes a little bit. Who is your favorite hero of fiction?
So I kind of go for the regular guy who does stuff really admirably. So I'm gonna mention to you one I can't remember his name even. So one is Woody from Toy Story, because Woody is just sort of a regular cowboy who's a real hero in the end. He's a leader. He motivates people. He's empathetic. He's not selfish. He does the right thing all the time. And the second guy, I can't even remember this character's name, but in the movie On the Waterfront, the guy that Marlon Brando plays, who's also just a regular guy who kind of is thrust into this position where he does remarkable things. So I'm going to go with those guys.
Great choices. Somehow I thought Captain America would be one of your.
So if you said superheroes, Captain America would be high. I like him more than like Batman and Superman, but I'm going to go with the fictional guys who could actually be real more. Yeah.
It's true. All right. Well, we're coming to the end now. The last question is, what is your motto?
Okay, so what comes to mind is it's really my mom's motto, because my mom always used to say this to me and my sister, and it's certainly how my mom lived her life, because my mom had kind of a pretty difficult upbringing, but her motto, which I'm trying to live by, is when life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Okay, great, excellent. Well, with that, Tom, thanks a lot for your time. I hope this gives the alumni in the New York City area a little bit more insight into our president who runs the board here. And we have a lot of good things going on, even with the COVID environment. So please do get online and check out what we have. And as you said, Tom, hopefully not too far from now, we'll all be seeing each other in person.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to that. Thanks, David.
Great, thank you.
Cut.